You guys, welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to be taking a look at this guy. This is the 32-inch Gawfolk ultra-wide curved monitor, and there's a few things I like about this monitor. In terms of the real estate, it gives you a lot of options, like what you can do. So if you use it as a screen extender, like say for your laptop, whatever, there's so much you can do in that. There's so much screen surface you can put so many different tabs on. Particularly for me myself, I was really interested in giving it a shot just for video editing because that's what I'm really into. And even that, like, it gives you enough like room where you can just see everything that you need to, and kind of just makes it easier. The thing about curved monitors as well is, like, sometimes depending on the angles, so this is 1800R, so it's not going to be as curved as the 1500s, but depending on the angles, you kind of like lose some image coloring like from certain angles, and I kind of didn't get that with this one, at least that much. Like, it didn't get to levels where like some colors were looking distorted at some angles, but nonetheless, like, it's curved, so it does tend to happen, like on occasion, like depending on which angle that you're looking at, but it's nothing crazy that's going to distort some colors. And so this is just one example. It is 2K, not 4K, so you can watch 4K video, but the resolution of the monitor is 2K max, so it still like gives like accurate colors, and especially with HDR on, which I highly recommend if you want, like, if you want the best quality for anything, gaming or even just your footage. Definitely have HDR on. As you can see, it does, like, it looks pretty decent. It doesn't look like anything's like really off or off color or anything. And one of the things for me, like, of course, I really do enjoy when like the screen can get as bright as I need to, just so you can see everything as best as possible. But pet peeves is when things don't look clear, or like the colors just look like a big blob, like a big blur. But doesn't necessarily happen with this. Like, the color accuracy is very, very decent, and I love that, right? Like, especially depending on which market that you're in. If you're in the US, it's gonna run you about maybe $200, but if you're in Canada, it's maybe 250 around there. I don't know what Big Donnie's doing, so the prices might change. But for that price point, it's kind of like a steal for what you do get. So you also do get two HDMI ports, and on top of that, it is capable of going 165 hertz. So those frame rates, like, unless you need to, like, like, a lot of people aren't really, like, unless maybe the gamers aren't really running towards that, because it's not there's a lot more that people value than just the frame rates, right? Again, opinions are different. Some people might prefer the frame rate, some people might prefer the color accuracy, who knows? But depending on who you are, it can go up to 165 hertz. So it just kind of makes everything go smoother and much easier. And I like that, right? So, and now one of my pet peeves about this monitor, right? Like, for the price, you do get like decent image quality and viewing quality. But when it comes to the build and the structure, so it's easy to assemble, but that's not really the issue. The issue is, one, like, it's maybe I'm just bad at putting my monitors together, but it does get really shaky. If you just shake your desk just a tiny wee bit, like, it does like kind of wobble a little bit, and I don't like that. And personally, it just makes it look like it's cheap quality. But it does have adjustable tilt, but for me, like, so it goes from -5 to 10 degrees. So it's like, for me, I would have preferred it for a little bit more and a little bit more versatile, because like you can only do it like like at a certain angle, like left, right, a little bit. But it like, with the stand that it comes in, like, the stand, it's not cheap, but it feels cheap quality in the fact that you can't, like, it comes as is, like, it's static, right? Like, you can't really like raise it or lower it, and you can't, like, when it comes to the tilt, sure, you can't tilt it, but it's not what I would have wanted to be able to just like play with it and like angle it in ways, because like there was sometimes where like I really would have preferred if I could just angle it like a little bit more towards me or a little bit more away, just so I can get like the viewing angles, especially the aspect ratio, in the way I would have wanted. You can't really do that. It's not like that, right? So, but that's kind of like the trade-off you get for when you get like something that's affordable, like at this price. There's some trade-offs that you have to make there, and the trade-offs, comes down to personal opinion. But for me, like, of course, this is not like the worst thing in the world, but I definitely would have preferred to be able to at least like just adjust it and tilt it a little bit more, just so I could get the angles that I personally would have wanted myself. really have to think about maybe potentially getting like one of those like monitor stands, yeah, not the little flat ones you put and then like you put the monitor on top of that, but like uh, one of those that you just clamp on your desk, and that's gonna run you a bit more money. So it's like when it comes to build, like it's good and all, but it's not like, like I would have, like I wish it would have had that at least, just so it could have made it much easier to kind of like just play with the angles that you want. Because I did have like a few times where I'm like, okay, like I would have wanted to be able to like tilt it a little bit to the side, tilt it a little bit towards me, but you can't, and it just makes it like, okay, well, the, the, the thing for me is at least I have an electric desk, so I can kind of like raise it up a little bit, or I can kind of like lower it if I want to. But like big picture, it's like you really don't have versatility there, and it's like in the long run, it might get a little bit annoying, because it's just like static. It's just there, you know. And as I mentioned, for gaming, it also looks really good. The frames are really good as well. And again, my recommendation is definitely use the HDR, because you can definitely see the difference in like colors, and like without HDR, like once you kind of like get like a really good feel of HDR and like really great quality HDR, and it kind of like makes a big difference, because like you kind of never want to go back after that. It's like, like once you're used to that, it's you become accustomed to something that like really good quality, and you kind of can't go back after that. So with HDR, you can definitely see the difference in colors, especially on the monitor, and I really like that, like, because then it gives you kind of like a reference point, like a reference frame to see like, okay, like was it really worth it getting it, right? Like when you see like the difference that it makes. And like without HDR, like everything just looks bland, and then like with HDR on, the blacks are blacker, and like whenever I used to hear people say that, like, oh, the black look blacker, I'm like, yeah, like, bro, what? But like once you really get to use something that has like really decent quality HDR, um, the blacks do look blacker, and like it just makes sense after you try it, and it makes sense why that's like sort of like a thing people harp on, because it's like it makes everything look just that much better and that much clearer. It has a bezel-less design, and I'm not gonna lie, the bezel's extremely tiny. Like you can hardly even tell that there's bezels, which is good. But like if you want to have a dual monitor setup and have both of them set up by side, that's gonna be even like well, I don't have two, so I can't even show that. But like it's gonna be really awesome, because like you can hardly tell. Like the only like bezel is like at the bottom, but who cares about the bottom, right? Like it's the screen real estate that really matters. For the gamers out there, it also has 1 millisecond response time. Now the bottom line of this monitor is like, for me, like I think it's really decent quality, especially like it comes at an affordable price, right? Like it's really decent quality, and there's a lot that you can do with it, especially with the viewing quality is also amazing. It's 2K, not 4K, but like that's not the worst thing in the world. But with what you do get for it, the only big gripe that I did have with it is it kind of gets shaky, like when just a little tug on the table, and like kind of like tremors a little bit. But other than that, the only one I had is like when it comes to the stand, I would have wished it was a little bit more versatile, so you could do a little more with it, raise it up a little bit, lower it. Like for me, I have an electric desk, so it just makes it easier to do that myself. But having the option to do it on the monitor would have been great. But other than that, I think it's an awesome monitor. I'd say maybe give it like an 8 or a 9 out of 10, just for the price range that it's in. But other than that, yeah, like I think it's pretty awesome. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think. And I'm out.